Good morning, Jack Buono coming to you from the bridge of the MV Kings Pointer, our training vessel at the United States Merchant Marine Academy. She's just returned from the shipyard, North Florida Shipyard in Jacksonville, Florida. With 22 midshipmen on board, they made a 3-day trip back to the academy in some pretty rough weather. Anyway, I'm on the bridge reminiscing, thinking about my parents. They're both deceased. But I'm thinking about things that took place at Kings Point that honestly I never shared with them. And I want to share one with you. Celestial navigation. I used to love it. Midshipmen here who are deckies go through training to understand celestial navigation. Spherical trigonometry is part of it. Basically the premise is that if you know at any given point in time where a star is, and you're able to measure with a sextant the angle that that star is above the horizon, through spherical trigonometry, you can produce a line of position. The idea being that a star seen at a certain angle forms like a cone with the base on the earth. And at that moment in time, only people that are located on that circle on the face of the globe can see that star at that angle. What that produces for the navigator is a line of position. If you can check and see the angle on several stars, 2, 3, 4, 6, you're able to have those lines hopefully cross on a nautical chart into a pinwheel, which you hope you'll achieve, which pinpoints your position. In class, you learn how to use the Nautical Almanac, the Site Reduction Tables, HO Publication 249, 229. You learn about height of eye, about getting your local time, because local time is different every place on the earth. You need to calculate that. A chronometer, so that you could check the exact time that you take a fix. And the skills involved with using this. A sextant, a device that is as old as navigation itself. Seafarers like Christopher Columbus would use a makeshift type form of a sextant where they would travel south from Spain or Italy to a point where the North Star is at a certain angle, and that's the point at which they would keep that star at that point every night for 30 or so days as they did what was called parallel sailing to the New World. Really cool device. Learning it is a skill that takes some time, but it's wonderful once you master it. So anyway, I was thinking about when I started going to sea. I was a third classman at the United States Merchant Marine Academy, a deckie, and my first ship was the Mormac Lake, leaving out of the docks in Brooklyn. My father was a New York City police officer, and on that day when I was shipping out, he was able to take me down to the docks. He dropped me off at the terminal, and I was very uncomfortable. I wouldn't admit it, but I was very uncomfortable. There was no one there to grab me by the hand to take me on board the ship. I walked through the terminal all alone after saying goodbye to Dad, walked through the warehouse with the smell of coffee beans, cans of Spam. It was a break bulk ship taking food and supplies to Brazil. I finally got onto the wharf and looked up at this massive ship. I never imagined a ship would be that large. I'm looking 60 feet up at the main deck, walking up a gangway by myself, trying to figure out, should I actually be doing this by myself? With my pea coat on and a duffel bag over my back, I walked up this gangway, honestly very nervous. I met one of the seafarers, an able-bodied seaman, and he grumbled at me that I needed to see the captain and pointed in the general direction. I found the chief mate. The chief mate told me where my room was, and that's how my sea tour began. But it was an incredible adventure. A few hours later, joined by my engine cadet from Kings Point, we were heading out of Ambrose Channel, going through the Valdez Narrows, looking back at the city at night, seeing the New York skyline, the Grand Lady, the Statue of Liberty, and I remember the sense of excitement and fear, quite honestly, of being out to sea for the first time in my life. Would I get seasick? Would I be able to handle this? Anyway, I was able to get to sleep that night, woke up, the ship was moving. It was a beautiful day. The water was a color I had never ever experienced or imagined. It was like a cobalt blue. I was in the Gulf Stream looking at flying fish. My gosh, it was winter in New York and I'm seeing flying fish. I never saw a flying fish before. This was really cool. Towards the evening, I wanted to make sure that I took time to take stars. It was going to be a good night. There was going to be a visible horizon. So around the time of nautical twilight, I went up to the bridge, got my sextant, which was issued from the academy, and I was ready and getting prepared to shoot around the stars. Anyway, with my publications, my chronometer, I was able to shoot a number of stars, which was interesting. You have to brace yourself as the ship is rolling. You have to go ahead and find the star in the mirrors and arc it so it just touches the horizon. Click! Take that time. That will take the seconds it takes you from getting from the bridge wing to seeing the main chronometer on the bridge. That's how specific you needed to be in order to get a good fix. After shooting Pollux or Capella, Sirius, Betelgeuse, you would then do the calculations with the site reduction tables, measuring the distance that you are from the water, as well as the local time and the angles that would be produced by these stars at certain points. And lo and behold, if you did it right, you would have a fix on the chart. It would be a series of lines that measure those stars, and that's where you were at the point that you took that celestial fix. What an overpowering feeling of satisfaction it is for any navigator to draw their first celestial fix. Not to mention if you were to get a pinwheel, which is an exact cross of the stars. What an incredible lift to your self-esteem, to your self-confidence, to actually do that. Learning it in the classroom is one thing. Doing it on board a rocking ship in the real world, in the middle of the ocean, well, that's a completely different experience. And I'm reminiscing back to what that felt like, and it felt good. It was just one of a myriad of opportunities to learn while I was out at sea. Whether in the engine room, taking apart equipment, fabricating your own parts, working cargo, being at sea, steering through a narrow channel, there was so many things. On any day, there was something to be learned. Every time you learn that, your self-esteem and confidence would grow. I've got this. I can be a leader at sea in an isolated environment. The point at which I made that fix, my first celestial fix, I joined the ranks in my mind with all the navigators from the history in the past. Even Nathaniel Bowditch, the father of modern navigation. I was a member of that family. An incredible feeling. That's what our midshipmen learn here. During sea year, currently we have over 211 to be exact, out at sea. They're at points beyond. They might be on a combatant in the Strait of Hormuz, or they may be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Each day they're learning incredible things. And I really regret that I never shared those things with Mom and Dad. The form of communication back then in 1975 was this, which you hope to get once every month. And I have to admit, while I wrote my mom and dad, they were kind of short, and I didn't mail as many as I did to my girlfriend at the time. So parents, take the time to ask your midshipmen, what are you learning as an engineer on board a ship? What are you learning as a deck officer aboard a ship? Force them to tell you. It's really amazing stuff. The world is their campus. That is extremely important, and it is the key program here at Kings Pointer that differentiates a Kings Pointer from any other byproduct of a state or federal maritime institution. So thanks for spending a couple of minutes with me. I want to also let you know that we're in contact with our midshipmen no matter where they are in the world, and it's not through letters. Every one of our midshipmen that's at sea has this GPS device. At any moment in time, if they're uncomfortable with what's going on that ship, they will be able to text our shipboard training group, or in constant contact, and they're mapping. If you go into Furaseth and go to shipboard training, you'll see our midshipmen on a world chart that shows where they are at any one point in time. So to our parents, don't let your children do what I did and keep so many wonderful memories from you. Ask them about what they're learning at sea. For our midshipmen, realize that your parents would benefit and really love to share that experience vicariously with you. Speak to them, tell them about that. While you're home now, maybe this will be a catalyst to having those conversations. And for our alum, maybe this touches something that did for me in terms of reminiscing. Think about all the firsts that you had at sea in terms of learning, and it was really, truly an incredible point in our lives together as alums of this great institution. In the meantime, stay well, God bless. More from the United States Merchant Marine Academy to come. Jack Buono saying goodbye and see you soon. Acting on Verba.